Want better barbecue results? I do. Big Papa Smokers is here to help. Hand-picked selection of the very best barbecue supplies in the business. Big Papa Smokers wants to help you achieve barbecue greatness. You'll find everything you need for cooking outdoors at bigpapasmokers.com. They sell those little cutting boards. You know those disposable cutting boards? Smoky Mountain cutting boards. You buy them by the case, $35 to a case. Great prices at bigpapasmokers.com. Also known for their championship rubs and seasonings. Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow are proven winners on the competition barbecue circuit and in the backyard. Big Papa Smokers offers 13 perfectly balanced flavors that will transform ordinary meals into extraordinary. Whether you're cooking to impress judges or just grilling for the family, the most important people you grill for. Big Papa's award-winning rubs and seasonings will not be a disappointment. Pick up a bottle today at Big Papa Smokers.com. Don't forget, you also got the Big Papa Smokers do-it-yourself drum kit. I bought one and I built one out of a 55-gallon RD. Really, really cool, and it works really, really well. And the instructions on YouTube on how to put it together are fantastic. You'll enjoy that. A Big Papa Smokers barrel ugly drum smoker. I tell you, folks, ugly drums are sweeping the nation. They are sweeping the nation. Welcome back. Don't forget, let's see here. I have to make sure I read this. Oh, you wouldn't believe. You would not believe the number of papers that I have gotten from Mr. Rempe. My name is Steve Ray. I'm broadcasting on the BBQ Central Show. We are broadcasting live atop White Oak Mountain in the little community known as Ooltewah, Tennessee, here right northeast of Chattanooga. And still to come in the second hour is the BBQ Central Embedded Correspondent segment. That'll be up in just a few minutes. And that is going to be via the Fogo, let's see, where's that? Fogo, right there, the Fogo Charcoal Hotline. Also, stay in touch with the BBQ Central Show on Instagram and Twitter, and the BBQ Central Show on Facebook. Don't forget the best moments of the BBQ Central Show, produced by John Solberg, our Michigan embedded correspondent, in 10 minutes or less. Episode number 74 is a journey back to July 2011. Heath Hall of Pork Barrel Barbecue joined Greg, and he discussed what was either the best product to hit the market or the worst product to hit the barbecue market. That being Q Cologne. I'm not kidding. Q Cologne. I thought it was the most vile thing ever, said Greg. However, I was the first order placed, verified by Heath. And in the second segment of the Best of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less, Greg will chat for the first time with Amy Mills. Got her background and what it's like working with her dad, Mike Mills, who is a barbecue legend. All that coming up Friday on the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less, produced by John Solberg, the Michigan correspondent from Michigan. A listener writes, I like to make beef ribs. We live in a condo, so I have to use the barbecues that are provided by the condo, I guess. It's a big deal, isn't it, when you live in a condominium or a close-knit housing about grills. I know my friends say they can't even have a grill. I can see why. Anyway, the barbecues are provided are gas. When I put the ribs on, for a while there is some flame coming from the barbecue, perhaps reacting to juices from the ribs. The ribs will tend to get done on the outside before they are well cooked on the inside. I don't put the barbecue sauce I don't put the barbecue sauce on in the beginning because for sure they would caramelize and then burn. Yes, they would. I try to keep the heat around 300. Any suggestions to keep them from burning Thank you very much, and thank you for listening, Bruce Rubin, who listens to the BBQ Central Show. He sent that to Greg. Well, Bruce, I would suggest, and this is preached by a lot of barbecue people, and especially by our monthly visitor, Meathead. You set up a 2-zone cook on that grill. Now, you can do that as long as you've got 2 different control devices. If you only got one, it's going to be hard to do. You're going to have to block off somehow or stack something. But if you've got a 2-burner barbecue grill, gas grill is what you're using, take the ribs and put them on, say, the right side, and take that burner and turn it way, way down, almost off. Take the other side, turn it up about 3/4. 300 degrees for ribs is, if you're not using the pit, is really kind of, it's kind of high. You know, when people cook chicken, they always say, oh, I can't cook chicken because it burns. Well, the reason it burns, you're cooking chicken on a gas grill, the reason it burns is because you're cooking it at 400 degrees. And chicken is full of fat and grease. And yes, it's going to burn. It's going to taste terrible. It's going to get black on the outside. And on the inside, when you take it inside, it's going to make you sick because on the outside, it's going to be 210 degrees. And on the inside, it's going to be about 130 degrees. And we all know chicken's not ready until 160 degrees. Same with ribs. Not as poisonous as chicken, obviously, but you got to get them done. You got to get them up there around 195 to 205. Preferably, I'm a 210 guy, but we'll get into that sometime later. But set the right-hand side up, very low heat. 3/4 on the left-hand side. Put the top down, and let them cook. Let them take the time. Cook them a little bit slower. And what you can even do, which is really cool, you can get these at Lowe's or Home Depot. At least that's where I see them here in Ooltewah. Is you get a little box and you throw some wood chips in. There's a little metal box of, I forget what they call it, a wood smoker or something like that. All kinds of devices like that. Put those in there, and that will give it some smoke and aromas. You don't have to use liquid smoke, and that will give it a smoky taste. Not as good as a pit, but not bad for a gas grill. And that's what I would suggest to you, Bruce. And I'm sure that as we're speaking, people are in chat giving you other ideas as well. But that's what I would do, and that's the way I do. Like if I had to cook a rack of ribs. Let's say I was doing a beef ribs, and I was doing, or a standing rib roast. Let's say that I've done standing rib roast using that same method, and it works great. It doesn't take long. It takes a little longer than you would, just grilling it right over the open fire, but it won't take long. So you'll enjoy doing that, Bruce. That's what I would recommend to you. All right, before we head to the embedded correspondence, let me read this. Let's see. Barbecue Guru and Green Mountain Grills together. The Barbecue Guru products. Barbecue Guru. I use it. The Party Q is my favorite device. I use the DigiQ in my big smoker, but the Party Q, I've got a pit barrel cooker. I've got a Weber Smoky Mountain, and I've got 2 QSB gravity feed smokers that I use the Party Q in. It's very small, battery operated. It works great. The fan and the temperature control are perfect. If you've got that situation at your house, you're smoking on a Weber, a pit barrel cooker, go to barbecueguru.com and order the Party Q. It's simple. It does the job, and you will really enjoy it. Also, for the Green Mountain grills, the Classic and the Prime models are more robust with a bigger chassis. Greg had the guy that owns Green Mountain Grills on a couple weeks ago. Also has 12-volt power technology, which I love because it's portable. Let's see. A 12-volt power technology, 2 internal meat probes, peek-through window, which is kind of cool, in the main cooking chamber, and the pellet hopper. They've got 3 sizes. The Davy Crockett is the portable unit, and then the Daniel Boone and Jim Bowie for the backyards. The bigger 2 also accommodate the pizza oven insert. That's where it's at, folks, pizza oven. I like those. And they're also pellet rubs and sauces to complete your outdoor cooking experience. The greenmountaingrills.com, sold only through licensed dealers. And that's a good thing because you'll get training from your local dealer when you buy a Green Mountain Grill. We have a dealer right here in Ooltewah. Been selling Green Mountain Grills for years and years and years. And folks, I'm telling you something. With the 12-volt technology coming down the pike, where you're not going to need power except for a little jumper box, a portable jumper box. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to the parts store, your auto parts store, and ask for, I want to see a portable car jumper box, and they will show you. It comes about that big, about that wide. It's got a handle, 2 jumper cables on it. You can take it anywhere. You can jump start your car. You can power your Green Mountain Grill, all from the same unit. How cool is that? You can't beat it. Green Mountain Grills and Barbecue Guru. You need them. Coming up next is the Embedded Correspondents. We're going to go hide behind the screen again, and we'll be right back. So stay with us. And look who is with us now. All right, I'm going to start it. I'm going to start it right now. Who the hell is breathing into the microphone? I just wanted to make everybody sound at home. How's everybody doing? Doug Scheiding.
Steve Ray, way to go off. I wanted to hear you rant all night long, and that was the closest thing we've gotten.
Doug Scheiding from Texas. John Solberg from Michigan. And we have got David Huff from Windtorn, Oklahoma, with us tonight. And I'm Steve Ray from Ooltewah. And you're listening to the BBQ Central Show and the Embedded Correspondent segment. I take it that all is well in everybody's court.
All's good.
That would be a shake your head up and down, fellas. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go around the table real quick. John Solberg, Barbecue Hall of Fame fan or not?
Indifferent, but obviously this time of year you got to be a fan of it.
David Huff?
Sure, why not?
Doug Scheiding?
I'm a fan of one Barbecue Hall of Fame. I don't like having multiple Barbecue Hall of Fames.
Okay. With that being said, John Big Daddy Bishop from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Aaron Franklin from Austin, Texas. Meathead Goldwyn from Chicago, Illinois. Michael Ray Higgins from Mesquite, Texas. A lot of Texas people on here, Doug. James Lemons, Chicago, Illinois. C.B. Stubblefield, Lubbock, Texas, and Austin. Wayne Monk, Lexington, North Carolina. Jim Quisenberry, Memphis, Tennessee. And Desiree Robinson from Memphis, Tennessee. First up, Doug Scheiding. Do you like this list?
Yeah, I like the list. One of the things I wondered is where are the nominees from last year? Helen Turner, Columbus Hill, Jamie Geer, Rodney Scott. Where are these people? So if you're on the list of final 9, do you not kind of pass over to the next year? But I think it's a pretty good list and a lot more diversified than it has been in the past, if I can say.
David Huff. David Huff.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, sorry, something's wrong with my screen here.
What was the question?
Yeah, there you go.
I
was trying to fix my computer.
Well, I tell you what, when the B team comes in, it's like the substitute teacher. You guys will probably be in the principal's office at the end of the segment. What do you think about the list, David Huff? The 9 nominees for the American Royal Association's Barbecue Hall of Fame.
I was surprised at the number of people that I didn't recognize on the names, but I also thought that there might have been, Greg has been kind of, I don't know if I'd call it stirring the pot, but he's been recognizing the lack of minority nominees, and I think it might be having a small impact, and we might start seeing a change here, continuing on in the near future.
John Solberg in Michigan.
I think it's a fairly solid list. There's a couple oddballs on there that kind of stand out to me, like, huh? But I think everybody on the list is a solid player and does deserve a place on the list.
Doug, the point you brought up about who were the guys from last year, CB Stubblefield, I think, is the only repeat nominee from last year. I believe he was on the list last year.
Right.
I thought it was strange too that Rodney Scott was left off, but I guess this list is generated by the people that are or us that send in the nominations. So I guess he did not garner enough. I don't want to say votes, but I guess enough nominations rather, to make the list, and CB Stubblefield did. Let's go around again, and I personally, I like the list. I think a couple. Well, I'm going to say one is more of a media-driven list, a famous list. Not so sure he would be a member of the a member of the Hall of Fame, although he is certainly a talent. But we'll go over that later. David Huff, who are your 3? If it's David Huff's Hall of Fame, David Huff's Barbecue Hall of Fame, who are the 3 people that you would vote for?
I was going to base my answer because of what we've seen so far, as in which 3 I think will be the ones that will go in. And I think it will be exactly what you hit on, based on popularity and mass reach. I think it would be Meathead, Aaron Franklin. And then the last one could possibly be Stubbs for his sauce and the reach. I mean, that's carried in Walmarts all across the country. And I think that there's a chance that he makes it in this year.
John Solberg.
Well, if it is my Hall of Fame, the ones I would put in, which I think only one of them has an actual chance at even possibly seeing the Hall of Fame this year, I'm going with Desiree Robinson, and these are in no particular order. James Lemons absolutely deserves a place in the Hall of Fame. And lastly, Jim Quisenberry. If you take a look at that guy's barbecue life, it was phenomenal. So that's my 3 that I would like to see in.
John, what's a little background real quick on Jim Quisenberry?
Man, he just was a barbecue dude in the 80s before it was cool. Mm-hmm. Head on over to just Google Jim Quisenberry and take a look at he just did a lot. He played hard in the game. And
wasn't he one of the founding people of the Memphis in May or Memphis Barbecue?
I can't confirm or deny that personally.
I think
so. I don't know that for a fact, but I mean, he built this whole family life around barbecue. He built his vacations around barbecue. His kids are now in the barbecue business.
Yeah,
he's definitely had an impact on the industry and probably an unsung hero. But it's definitely worth checking out their website. There's a lot of great stories. It's a good website. It's got a good blog. It's entertaining.
Also, don't forget that the Embedded Correspondence is being broadcasted to you on the Fogo Premium Hardwood Charcoal Hotline. Doug Scheiding, your picks.
Well, I got the first 2 right away, and it was really the third one that gave me trouble. But I think Aaron Franklin is going in. I think he's done a lot for barbecue, just in terms of popularity, being named, by Bon Appetit as the best brisket on the planet. Whether it's coincidence or whether that was part of it. Is it more mainstream now? I'm not sure. So the other one is Stubbs. Even though I'm not a fan of the barbecue sauce, and he is from Texas, I think CB Stubbs is going in. Like you said, he's on the list for 2 years in a row. I think that's not by coincidence. So the third one was the tough one for me. It's going to be someone from Chicago. It's either going to be James Lemons or Meathead, and I actually think it's going to be James.
And what is Doug? Do you know his background for people at home?
No, it's himself and his two brothers. I thought started barbecue restaurants back in the '50s in Chicago, and so I think he's the eldest brother, and he started the second location of Lem's Barbecue. But I just think in terms of bringing in, they were known for rib tips. Which again, I'm not a real fan of because I don't like that cartilage, and hot links. Hot links is real popular down here in Texas, or at least it used to be, when barbecue first started here, especially in Houston. So I just think I've heard of his name, like, some of the other people, maybe it's just me living in a cave, but I hadn't heard of him, unfortunately.
I tell you, I'm going to say, and I think because all the people that are in the hall get a vote, and I think there's some other people on a committee that vote. I'm not sure, but I think that the most of the voting comes from the people that are already in the hall. And at last count, I think I counted 27 people. Most of them are barbecue cooks, and this is the reason I think my nominees will go in. I think that this is a group. It's going to be a group that is not only respected industry-wide, but I think it's respected by this group that's going to be voting. And my picks for the Hall of Fame, number one, is Meathead Goldwyn. I think Meathead will get in the Hall of Fame because his pioneering in the internet information world for the barbecue industry, where there was nothing when the competitors, the Myron Mixon, Dr. Barbecues, Melissa Cookston, when they were starting out, there was nowhere to get information on the internet, and Meathead kind of started that for them, and it's become just crazy, all the information that you can get. I think that he will be voted for because of that. I think the second person will be Stubbs, CB Stubblefield. And Doug, I think it's for the same reason that you thought too, because it's his second time, and I think he is such a monster. He had such a monster effect in the sauce business. I know, right? If you go down to my pantry right now, there's a jar of Stubbs barbecue sauce down there, and probably in most of the pantries in the United States, right next to their Sweet Baby Ray's. And I think the third one is going to be Jim Quisenberry. John, I agree with you, because I believe he is so respected by the competitors for what he did to start competitive barbecue. The Memphis Barbecue Network, before it was the Memphis and May Network, and that was the big one before KCBS got so strong. They were that's where a lot of the older fellows started. And I think he's going to be quite respected for starting the entire barbecue competition scene. So my pick is going to be Meathead, CB Stubblefield, and Jim Quisenberry. Anybody want to put any money down on this? Not that they'd pay.
Oh, I pay.
Yeah. You're listening to the Embedded Correspondent segment here on the BBQ Central Show. Okay, around the table, David Huff. I know you've had some trying times, but your Memorial Day activity, yours was quite a standout of the group here. You were the star. I think you were the star standout of Memorial Day activities.
Well, it was bittersweet, I'll tell you that. As you can see by my attire here, we've definitely had some rough weather in Oklahoma. I was supposed to go camping on Memorial Day, And the campground we were going to go to is at the base of the dam where the two barges escaped and were floating downstream, and they were worried it was going to hit the dam, break through, flood the area, and kill all the people. So the campground got canceled. Then we almost had a couple tornadoes by the house. And all through all that, I was fortunate enough to be on the local television station and do a cooking segment on how to grill. I wanted to do hot dogs for Doug, but they said, nah, if you need to know how to cook a hot dog, you don't need to be watching. So we did chicken breasts, hamburgers, and steaks, and I think it turned out well. And that's really about the only thing I cooked for Memorial Day, because again, we were planning on going camping, and kind of threw some stuff together at some friend's house after that. So that was my cooking for Memorial Day.
Well, I don't think there's anybody else among us who can say I spent my Memorial Day on television telling everybody in Bixby, Oklahoma how to cook. And he uttered one of the most funniest lines I've ever heard on TV cooking. David, repeat that line I'll be the announcer. And Mr. Huff, what temperature should you cook that chicken breast up to?
Listen, use your thermometer. Do not overcook your chicken. Go to 165. Anything over that, you might as well shingle your roof with it, because it's just a boneless, skinless, dry piece of shingles if you cook it over 165.
That was a coffee spit out moment in my book. John Solberg, your Memorial Day memory from yesterday.
My world is full of emergency responders and retail folks. So any holiday is just a holiday, or a Saturday or Sunday. So we don't really have those. I'm real close to Great Lakes National Cemetery. So of course I always visit Great Lakes National Cemetery regularly. So I make a trip over there for that service. And I cleaned cookers. I cleaned 4 Webers and ran 9 racks of ribs for some friends in retail. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of boring, but that's it. That's what I did for Memorial Day weekend.
Doug Schotty.
I went to my last cook-off before the summer hits, and it was still pretty hot this weekend. It was 90 degrees, so I did a cook-off on Friday and Saturday, and did okay. And in fact, I got one of my most unique trophies I've ever. At first, I thought this thing was just ridiculous and hideous, but it's When Pigs Fly. It was the coordinators or promoters' thumbs up to PETA. And so this is the trophy I got for my first place ribs. Which is, I don't know, a lawn ornament or something. So, but I'm going to keep it. If it's a bowling trophy, I normally take one picture with it and kind of give it, usually build up 10 or so and give them to Goodwill or
you give your trophies away?
Yeah, if it's a bowling trophy. Yeah, but if it's something metal, or if it's a belt buckle, I keep those. But if most of the bowling trophies, I build them up and give them away. When I was a tennis player, I gave away over 120 trophies when I quit playing tennis.
Wow. David Huff, we did you. John Solberg, we did you. Doug Schotty, we did you. What I did is we had a little party down here at our local club, and we did the barbecue. Owl's Nest Barbecue did the Frank and I, and our we had a real unique guest. Every time we cook, we try to find somebody who is interested in barbecue. That way we can let them do all the work while we sit back and watch them. And we tell them that they're learning barbecue. That's how we get a rest. This year we had Lieutenant Colonel Jay Land was on our team for this particular little cook. And Jay has just retired after 30 years of service in the United States Army, serving the last 9 basically in Seoul, South Korea. So we were entertained early Monday morning and into the day by stories from Jay after a 30-year career. And you can imagine how interesting those stories were when he rolled into Iraq and the Middle East realm. So it was kind of nice to spend that with an Army veteran that has been there and is just basically just still in his transition period after being retired from the Army. So it was kind of a special day for us. One of the better Memorial Days I can remember. although we were enlisted to help, and we had to help more than the original plan was. But that's another story for another day. All right. Hey, did you guys see? I'll go around the room. John, have you seen the all of the press on that? Oh gosh, what's it called? It's the fake meat. It's called. Do you know?
Impossible Burger.
Is that what it is? Impossible Burger, but there's the company that that does that meat, and that stock is on fire. That's all they That's all they talked about today on CNBC was the stock of this company. I watched it all day. I should remember the name of it. But John, do you think that this the fake meat industry is got some legs on it?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody wants to try it. I want to try it. I haven't tried it yet. There's a demand for it. Everybody's getting into it. So we just got to wait to get to, artificial meat with CBD, and it'll be the next thing.
Yeah, they were saying that the millennials, they don't eat meat. They're all vegetarians. And David Huff, have you seen this? You're of that age group.
Yeah. It's not for me, but that being said, I know there's absolutely a market for it. There are people, I have a lot of vegan friends. I have a lot of vegetarian friends. When they come over to my house for a barbecue, I try to do the best I can. I wish there was something like that I could serve them. I'll tell you real quick, one of my favorite things on the menu at a restaurant in Kansas City called Char Bar, it's a barbecue place there, and they smoke a jackfruit. And it is done so well, I almost like it better than their pulled pork. It's stringy from the standpoint of it has the consistency of like pulled pork would. Not stringy as in, hard to chew, but it's just delicious. And, that's jackfruit is definitely not on the meat spectrum. And so I think that restaurants are out there trying to make more of a decision to provide to more people in the vegan and vegetarian mindset.
Jackfruit. What is it?
Yeah.
Is it an actual fruit? I've never heard of it. Is it an actual fruit, or is it something that's...
I believe so. It's an actual fruit, and it's about the size. It's bigger than a watermelon if you see a whole jackfruit.
They're about 16 pounds.
Yeah.
About 16 pounds for a whole jackfruit.
And when you get them in the
delicious.
store, most of the time they're already processed in a can, John, I believe, right? But if you see a whole one, you'll know. I mean, it's about $30 for this giant jackfruit at the grocery store when they have them.
Wow. I'll have to check it out. How do you cook those, David?
I don't know. I'd have to ask them, but it came out on what they call their Womp platter, which is basically their sampler platter with so much food on it. When they put it down on the table, it goes Womp. That's where the name came from. And I had jackfruit put on there along with the pulled pork, and I really couldn't tell which one I liked more.
Doug Scheiding?
Yeah, I'd love to
mystery
try an Impossible Burger. So I don't know anybody or any of the restaurants that carry it down here, but based on Greg has had it a couple of times and he says it's really good. So yeah, I'd love to try it.
What do you think the when you talk to a vegetarian, and I've got a daughter and son-in-law are vegetarians, and I've got to admit when they come over, it's they eat the sides, and I always try to have them one of those burgers that are made out of black-eyed peas. I think they're frozen, and they're
black bean Morningstar.
Yeah. And I know that's no imagination on my part, but I just don't know that much about food to experiment. But they do eat the sides, so they'll eat the the potatoes and the macaroni and whatever. But my daughter was talking about the Impossible Burger, and of course her response was, "Dad, it tastes just like a meat hamburger." What do you think vegetarians, John? Do you think they miss meat and they want to taste meat? Because every time they describe something to you, it's always it tastes just like. But wouldn't you think that they want something that tastes different than meat?
Hey, before I give my answer, just not to interrupt, but do you need to do a read before I start my answer?
Well, I've read everything.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I've got them
Well,
all. I've got them all in.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm just used to that schedule thing, and my clock's going.
Well,
off
I'm
in
going
my
to
head.
do something. I'm going to do something just a little bit different. But
Okay,
you're right.
okay.
I will be breaking when I get tired of y'all. Go
We
ahead.
need a break for a costume change.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought this to me, Steve. My son is a vegetarian. He's also a millennial, and I don't mean that in a derogatory term.
Mhm.
All millennials get lumped into some odd group, and that's just not the case. I love the fact when he comes home to visit and spends a few days, and I get to cook vegetarian things. I will say he does not miss meat. He is not looking for meat texture, and like I say, if he's here for 3 or 4 or 5 days, I go, man, I'm cooking. And it's a great opportunity for me. So I've never had the conversation with him about Impossible Burger, but I can honestly say he doesn't miss the texture of meat. But it can be challenging, and I think that's why it's good for me to do it.
David Huff, what do you think that the vegetarian designer type food? What are the vegetarians looking for in their food?
Yeah, I think if they say, "Oh, that tastes like meat," that's more of a reference for us to know, kind of their reaction to that. Just kind of, everything tastes like chicken when you don't know how else to describe it. And somebody says that, you know how to relate to it. I also think people go vegetarian for a variety of reasons, whether it's ethical treatment of animals, maybe they just don't want saturated fat in their diet, and although you can get some of those things from vegetables and that diet alone. I just think depending on the reason, what they may be looking for. I have a friend that has been vegetarian for, 6 years, and she was at a party and they didn't have anything vegetarian friendly, and she tried to eat red meat and she was deathly ill.
Really?
So she does not miss that anymore. She's perfectly happy with her choice, and I have no problem with it at all.
No, I've got no problem with vegetarian. I was years and years and years ago. I'm talking 30, 31 or 32. I was a vegetarian for about 6 months. And I gained so much weight, though, because I ate pasta every day. I mean, it's not. It can be an unhealthy diet too, if you don't know how to eat it. Doug Scheiding, what's your take on the vegetarian that says this tastes just like meat?
Well, obviously they were not a vegetarian for all of their life if they're saying that, but I hear most of us carnivores say that, in reference to something that like the Impossible Burger or whatever. So most vegetarians, heck, even our buddy Stover said he was thinking about going back to it just because of all the shards and the ground meat and plastic and glass and everything in meat, and really it comes down to the hormones and everything that is in the meat or could be in the meat, and that's you're ingesting that with each bite of meat. So I think that's another, in addition to the humane treatment of animals.
Hey, real quick before we continue, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow at 3 o'clock, right here on the BBQ Central Show Facebook page and the BBQ Central Show YouTube channel, you can watch live coverage of the American Royal Association's Barbecue Hall of Fame. They will take the 9 nominees. They will be whittled down right before your eyes, and the 3 2019 inductees into the Barbecue Hall of Fame will be announced live during the 3 o'clock show, a special airing, special bulletin show of the Barbecue Central Show that will be hosted by Greg Rempe. You won't want to miss this if you are interested in the barbecue legacy. This will be an interesting show. I'm sure Greg will have interviews with some people and talk about the nomination process, and he will be talking with people about why they think this person should be in and why they didn't get in. A full coverage of the 2019 American Royal Association Hall of Fame induction announcements. And Doug Scheiding, I'm going to start with you first. Is this groundbreaking coverage of this, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, and it's probably something that they should be doing themselves, as an organization, because I don't think they do enough to really basically announce who's winning, publicize the whole process. It's kind of, Greg has to remind everybody to go to the website to for the promotion and that sort of thing. You would think that they would be doing a lot of that themselves. So I think it is, and I hope Greg is able to do it every year going forward, and maybe he'll have a little more voice and get in on the inner circle and actually help decide who the final 9 nominees are, et cetera. So, because I don't think they do the 9 nominees based on how many people nominated people. Heck, if that was the case, Greg would be in on the short list, and so would probably John Marcus for all of us, Centralites that put in nominations for that. So I think it's a secret group that votes on this and then decides who the final 9 are.
John Solberg, groundbreaking coverage or not?
It is groundbreaking coverage, and I agree with Doug's point that they don't have a platform to do this. It's not their focus. I'm not really even aware of their social media presence, so I think that there's a lot of synergy here. I'll say that I don't ever see Doug's point of Greg being part of that inner circle, but it's a really nice thought. And on the whole John Marcus thing, to me, that's almost appalling that this guy has not even made the short list yet. But that's a personal rant. You don't want to get me going, because if it wasn't for John Marcus, I would not be sitting here talking to you guys. Most of us in the world of barbecue would not be having this conversation.
I'm with you. I'm with you there. I'm with you there, right there. David
I'll
Huff?
mute myself now.
I'm just going to echo my fellow correspondents. There's a problem. You have a marketing and a branding problem if potential nominees for your Hall of Fame don't even know that the Hall of Fame for barbecue exists. There's been people come on Greg's show that he's mentioned to them the Hall of Fame, and they're kind of staring, wide-eyed. They don't even know that there is a barbecue Hall of Fame, and that's an issue. I think that they need to get that word out there. They need to support it. Do they ever show up at events? Do they ever run any type of marketing or campaigning? Maybe they don't feel there's a need, but if you're going to have a Hall of Fame, really, what's the point if you don't let people in the industry participate, be made aware of, and yeah.
I think this is so. It's important to us. I think it's important to the barbecue industry. The number one that they talk about, or we talk about, how important knowing where we came from, or knowing what the people before us did, how they did it, and who the people were, what they were about. And I think that this is something that it's almost, to me, unbelievable that with the tools that fellas, if you can set up a studio in the bonus room of your house and broadcast to the internet a barbecue show every week, just think what an organization like the American Royal Association could do with their funding, and a media, John, talk about a bigger media presence, a bigger production of this, instead of having Greg have to go to them and say, hey, let's do this. And they go, wow, that's a good idea. You just wonder, why wouldn't they want to, spread this out? It's almost like it's, I don't know, John, do you think, John, that they it's almost like it's a secret that this Hall of Fame exists?
It's a tough question, because there's, I'm going to try to do the political wrestling thing here for a minute. Nobody gets hurt, but it looks real good. It's not their focus. They have a big, the American Royal has a lot going on. It's bigger than a barbecue contest. So the Hall of Fame may not be that high up on their budgeting and priority list. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, at least something is being done. So where am I going here? It's like, I just don't feel it's high on their list. And let's look at it. As David said, there's people that don't even know it exists that are nominated for it and whatnot. It may not be that important to the rest of the planet or to the American Royals business statement, their focus. And those are questions, man, I can't answer.
David Huff, let me ask you this. Would you, have an interest in going to a hall, a building where they actually had the baseball, football Hall of Fame for the barbecue inductees into Hall of Fame. Would you be interested in you going on a trip with your family to such a building if they ever built one?
So it's interesting that you said trip with the family, because I think there's the issue. If I'm going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, if I'm going to the NFL Hall of Fame, if I'm going someplace like that, you have such a general interest, a general, people know what football is, they know what rock and roll is. If I were on vacation with my family and I told them I wanted to stop in at this place and take even 2 hours out of family vacation to go through a barbecue Hall of Fame, I might not have I might have to find a ride home from vacation, because I just don't think, if you're not interested in the industry the way that you and I are and people listening to this podcast are, it's not going to get any support from the general public. I just think the field is limited on who's going to be interested. And that's why I think the marketing within the field should be better, because that's your audience. Those are the people that you should have supporting you and caring about it. They're the ones that need to know, because no one else really is going to care. And real quickly, Steve, before I forget, I'm looking here at the YouTube chat, some people asking what time. I know the second hour is going to drop on Thursday after the announcement, but can you tell people what time that this coverage is going to be?
3:00 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. That is May the 29th? Yes. May the 29th, tomorrow, Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the BBQ Central Show Facebook page and on the BBQ Central Show YouTube channel at 3 o'clock.
You sure that's not today? You've ran a little over. Are we into Thursday already, Steve? Sorry. Go ahead.
No, David, we're not. Doug.
David, we're in the real time zone. Sorry to take your time.
Doug,
we're in the only real time zone.
The IBCA in Texas has a Hall of Fame. What's the interest level there compared to the American Royal Hall of Fame?
They only do it, once a year. You nominate, and then prior to the annual meeting, they initiate, or induct the people into the Hall of Fame. And I'm sorry to say, as a life member, I'm not even sure. I was there the first year of it and know the first 5, but I don't know who made it after that. I missed last year as I was out of town, so I actually am not aware.
You see, the idea of a brick and mortar Hall of Fame intrigues me. I could see a building saluting the early barbecue, the African Americans coming, or where they started in the Caribbean with the holes in the ground cooking food, and then the whole progression of barbecue from the holes in the ground to the handmade brick pits, all the way up to modern day gravity fed and electric powered smokers and gas powered smokers that are out there. I think that would have that would show or I think people would be genuinely interested in that. You could have the backyard barbecue exhibit and show the history of John, you probably know the first backyard grill that was mass marketed to the consumer. Something like that.
Steve, maybe this is semantics, but that sounds more like a museum. So somebody in Tennessee or Alabama, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Texas, whoever could just start that without having to be associated necessarily with the Hall of Fame.
Well, you would,
I think it's a great idea.
You would incorporate. I mean, if you've ever been to the NCAA headquarters in Indianapolis, they start with the history of the NCAA, and they trace it from the flying wedge all the way up to the modern day, the gymnastics and all the different things that the NCAA does. Baseball has that too. They've got a traditional, in football, they've got the history of their sport incorporated into the Hall of Fame, and that's what I think makes it interesting. No, if you went into a room with 27 bust of barbecue pitmasters, no, it's not going to be exciting. It's not going to draw people. But I think if you incorporated it, because barbecue is such an American passion, I really do think that it would draw a crowd big enough to sustain it. Especially, of course, you'd have to put it in. That'd be another great discussion. Where would you put it? Real quick, Doug, where would you put it?
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. David Huff, where would you put it?
Kansas City, Missouri, because it's centrally located in the United States. They have such a background there in history and barbecue. I think I'd put it there.
Doug, where would you put it?
Kansas City, Kansas. And no, I'm just kidding. Kansas City, obviously, because American Royal, just because they have the ownership, and they have the inductee ceremony at the American Royal every year. But you put the nail on the head from the standpoint of hit the nail on the head from. There's only 27 people, and they really don't get into the depth of the history of barbecue. It's a lot more of the recent people, and not the ones that were the founders, and the James Lemons and a lot of the people that Adrian Miller talks about in Columbus Hill, et cetera. So they need 100, 150, 200 people in there, and then maybe they can think about having a building.
John Solberg, where would you put the Barbecue Hall of Fame?
Virginia, the birthplace of American barbecue. And if we go to Kansas City, everybody in Kansas City looks at everybody else in the country like, down,
Yeah.
they're political wrestling match. It's not, Kansas City's not the home of American barbecue. I say Virginia.
I would go with Memphis. I think Memphis would be a great place to locate it. It's not that far from Kansas City. There's lots of things to do in Memphis. I just think it'd be a great addition to that city skyline. Gentlemen, thank you so much. The Embedded Correspondents, John Solberg, David Huff, and Doug Scheiding with us tonight. Gentlemen, we'll see you the fourth Tuesday of June. Until then, I bid you farewell. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Adios.
And everybody, thank you for joining us here on the BBQ Central Show. This is Steve Ray filling in for Greg Rempe. We sure appreciate everybody watching and everybody listening. Don't forget, at 3 o'clock tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter where you are, you can tune to the BBQ Central Facebook page or the BBQ Central YouTube channel and get full coverage of the American Royal Association announcement of the 2019 Hall of Fame inductees. You only can get that live on the BBQ Central Show with Greg Rempe. That's tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time right here on this station. Until next Tuesday, everybody, thank you for joining us. And we will see you soon down the barbecue road. And as Greg says, September 11th, 2001, we will never, ever forget. Happy Memorial Day, everyone, and we'll see y'all later.